Трошки пізніше. Добрий день. Добрий день, друзі. Я вас вітаю у медіа-центрі України. Нагадаю, що ми працюємо...
Dear friends, welcome to Ukraine Media Center. We are supported by the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine and Ministry of Internal Affairs of Ukraine. We are hosted by Skyloft Hotel. Thank them very much for that, for hosting us. And now in our studio we have Oleksandr Markushyn, who came right from the front lines, Mayor of the city of Irpin. So you're welcome, Oleksandr. Please tell us about what's going on in the city, what's the situation now. You're welcome. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Oleksandr Markushyn, city mayor and the commander of our territorial defense of the city of Irpin. Currently, the city of Irpin has been 100% controlled by our Ukrainian military, our territorial defense. There's also police, and there is also police special force unit in Irpin, and we have been communicating with them. Currently, it's still dangerous in Ukraine, in Irpin, and I will explain why. We are constantly shelled from Bucha, from Warzel. Irpin suffers from Grad multiple launch rocket systems, from mortar shelling, from heavy artillery shelling, and sometimes they shell from tanks and they shoot from rifles, but the whole perimeter of the city is completely controlled by our military, and there are no Russian invaders in Irpin anymore. In Irpin, currently, there is still a lot of local people who didn't want to leave the city, and there are local people who stayed also in that occupied territory, and it was 30% of the total area of the city. And there have been good news today from Synergy residential block. We picked up a family with two children, 8 and 9 years old, and grandfather and grandmother, and we evacuated all of them, and they were very happy. It has been half a year since they purchased that apartment in Irpin, and now we evacuated them, and that's where we got to know them. They saw the city mayor in the uniform, and children were very glad to go to Kyiv, where there is no shooting. Indeed, they told us some very bad things, that Russians were taking them from Irpin and wanted to split them, males separately from females, but somehow they managed to hide in the basement. The Russians took mobile phones from them. They searched them so that people would not be able to tell us, the military, where Russians have their equipment or to pass us any information. Thank God those Irpin people have been alive. And when Russians didn't like some people, they would just shoot. Those invaders would just shoot and kill those people. And I believe this is a crime against humanity. Currently, our team, jointly with the police and the military, was transporting people who died, our peaceful civilians' dead bodies. Maybe somebody would not like what I say, but that's the truth. They used tanks to roll over our dead bodies of our Ukrainians, and they put them into the tarmac, and that's what we will never forget. It was terrible. I have seen lots of things, but that's what they've done to our people. So that was a couple of words about the situation. Since the very first day, my team has been in the city, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank those people who helped us to defend the city and to liberate it, to thank our military, to thank that Alpha Special Force of the Security Service of Ukraine, our Omega Force, our main military intelligence directorate, 80th Brigade and their commander, Monach, 82nd Brigade, Povstanets unit. I have my friend Vladimir, who has been fighting since the very first day, Cascade, and all those guys. their efforts made it possible for us to defend and liberate Irpin. These are our heroes. Unfortunately, 16 guys from our territorial defense died. 29 of them are in hospitals. And if you also take into account the armed forces of Ukraine, I think there have been up to 50 people who died and about 100 people have been wounded. But we have liberated it. This is a small town, but now it's a hero town, hero city. Thanks our president, it prevented the enemy from getting to Kyiv because that was their base. It's 5 kilometers from Kyiv. I am ready to answer your questions. You're welcome. Oleksandr, could you please tell us whether there was any information about the number of victims among peaceful civilians? Currently, we don't have that information as yet, but when there was intense combat action, when there was shelling for days and days, dead bodies were buried just in backyards, in parks, and I think about 200 to 300 people died there, unfortunately. Unfortunately, a lot of people are in those ruins. There have been multiple story buildings destroyed and private buildings destroyed, and we need time to find those bodies. We see that 50% of the city has been destroyed and critical infrastructure has been destroyed, and nobody has sorted those ruins as yet, and that's 100%. I'm 100% sure that there are still bodies there. Many people left, but many people stay there. Have you already started recovering water supply, electricity supply, or you haven't got to that as yet? We haven't got to that as yet. It's dangerous now because the city has been under constant shelling, and for water supply, you know, thanks to Kyiv Water Supply Company, Kyiv Водоканал, we already start bringing water from city of Kyiv to Irpin, where it's already safe. Those teams already start working. About electricity supply and natural gas supply, it will be a long story. Part of substations have been bombed, and a lot of houses have been bombed with those gas pipes, and you have to weld to repair those gas pipes and to block them. But we will launch that critical infrastructure and those utilities as soon as it is safe in the city. At the moment, it's still dangerous. Over the whole night, there has been shelling. It was dangerous. I was there on site. I can tell you for sure. We understand that there is still a lot of unexploded weapons in the city, unexploded ammo. Are we doing something about it? No, there are minesweepers entering cities. They will collect those. But in one park, locals just collected 5 or 6 unexploded projectiles or shells. They brought us to us. They stay there in the parks. And of course, you cannot destroy them there. You have to pick them up. But our local people are very brave. And I can tell you that our community, local community, works as one team. This hard time has consolidated us, and I have the honor of being a city mayor there. Thank you, dear journalists. You're welcome to ask your questions. Please introduce yourself, speak into the microphone. Microphone. I'm Zbigniew Parafianovich from Dzień Gazeta Prawna from Poland. Could you please tell us how many people, innocent civilians, stay in Irpin as of today? Today, we have, according to our assessments, our calculations, about 3,500 people, but we cannot tell you for sure because now we are calculating. We look through basements in the territory where there were Russian troops, and this number may increase. Yesterday we evacuated 150 people. Today about 150 people. About 1/3 of them are children. Thank you. Thank you. You're welcome.
Regarding the shelling, could you specify in what areas the Russians are shelling currently?
Basically, they are shelling all over the city, but there is heavy shelling in that part of where there is Synergy residential complex, Stoenka and Romanivka villages, and Smu area towards Hostomel. To make it clear, from Worzel, from Zhytomyr highway, Romanivka area, and Hostomel direction, because in those territories have been temporarily occupied by Russians. Any more questions?
On the same note, you said that you have minesweepers operating in town at the moment. Could you specify which places, objects they have mined, the Russians, when they left, before they left?
Partially, parks have been mined where there was combat action, where they had their trenches, but our guys completely checked them and demined them. Where they had their base camps, our guys have already demined them. There were those wires, and everything is being checked. We have checked almost all those dead bodies. Where we had dead bodies of our civilians, there could be mined, but we haven't found any explosives there. And then there are forests surrounding Irpin. Thank you. Any more questions? I'm Sergei Shestak from Europe 1. Yesterday, we met some people living in Irpin, and they told us that enemy's troops would block people in the basements and keep them there for 10 days or something like that, or approximately 10 days, and force them to remove their clothing and kept them there for 10 days. Have you heard that? Today I spoke with our residents who left those basements and other basements, and I can 100% confirm this information. Russians did not only undress them, but searched over their bodies, and we have some facts of torturing women. And why they split men from women? They wanted those men, those males, to use to exchange for their prisoners of war. There was this sad story. Thank you. Any more questions, friends?
Guardian, do you have any information about the number of Russian soldiers that were killed during the fighting for Irpin, and were there any that were taken prisoner?
Currently, we don't have accurate information because the military have to provide that information, but there are those prisoners of war and those dead Russians, and there are dozens times more of them. Say, we didn't have a task of capturing them. We had to liberate our territory, so we got maybe 5 of their soldiers, and we killed a lot of them. Thank you. Any more questions? Any more questions, dear friends? Okay, then I will probably ask a question. I understand that we have all journalists here, and I'm almost sure that everybody wants to get to Irpin. Can you tell them something about that? Is it possible to get to Irpin now? Dear friends, I'll tell you that, dear friends, I call you friends, you know, it's important for us that you deliver information to the whole world. Thank you for understanding. When we prohibited journalists from entering Irpin, sorry, we had to impose this forced measures, forced restriction, because we saw that several journalists were wounded or even died in our city, unfortunately, and we asked journalists that they don't enter Irpin for your own safety and not to disclose the positions of our military. I understand that, you know, you didn't do it on purpose, but maybe you pass some positions and then there is some shelling. I believe that in several days it will be possible to get to Irpin. We'll show you around the city. We'll provide you with security guards, but you have to understand that it will still be dangerous. Now, on my Telegram channel, I provided the number for accreditation. We'll collect your information, and you will be trained for 10 minutes how to behave there. And in small groups, there will be some procedures, there will be some schedule, and we'll show you Irpin. It's important to us that you'll show the whole world what's going on, because, you know, what they are telling on Russian channels are all lies. They're just zombieing people. Sorry, you know, they make people into slaves, while Ukrainians are not slaves. And we know for sure that our European partners, our American partners, our partners worldwide show the truth. And we do want to show the truth, to show that we are fighting in our own land. And what they have done, what they have destroyed, it's them coming here and destroying the city. And of course, for in a day or two, we'll provide maximum access. For some limited time, we'll get you there. But you have to understand that you will walk there or maybe we'll use jeeps, four-wheel vehicles to move there, and we'll do it in a centralized way and very quickly, because I will repeat that it's still dangerous in Irpin. There is constant shelling. Oleksandr, and I cannot but ask this question about residents who are also watching us. Maybe we understand that they are unlikely to return there in several days. Maybe you'll tell them something. Thank you very much. I would like to use this opportunity to address our locals, our residents of Irpin. Dear friends, my beloved friends, please don't return to the city. It is dangerous. I'll tell you when you can return, but in the next month, definitely you should not return there. I and my team, we have to recover the infrastructure, at least to have some critical infrastructure operating. And then, of course, we will be very glad to see everybody there. But please give us some time to defeat the enemy, because, you know, there cannot be free Irpin without free Bucha, free Worzel, free Hostomel, because from there they're shelling us. When we liberate those towns, it will be easier for us to work on recovering our beautiful Irpin. Please give us some time. Please don't return there now. We have some strict checkpoint procedures. Do you like it or not? But I will not let anybody get into the city to create danger for our residents. Any more questions? Good afternoon, Rai, Italian TV and radio company. I'm a former resident of Hostomel, and I would like to clarify with you whether you can tell us. You said that from Hostomel, Bucha and Worzel there is shelling. Could you please tell us how successful our operations have been there? Currently, we see our successful operation about Irpin. Then, of course, we will be moving. As I said, there cannot be a free Irpin without free Hostomel, free Bucha, and free Worzel. Thank you. Any more questions? Microphone. Microphone. Please speak into the microphone.
Possible to have a one-to-one interview, just 1 minute, me and you, with my camera.
Давайте ці питання.
Let us discuss those questions after our briefing. Please, if there are any questions about briefing, you're welcome.
Regarding Russians in Irpin, yesterday I've talked to somebody at the collection point just inside of Kyiv, and he was saying there are still Russian elements, I think that's how he phrased it, inside of Irpin. And he said that troops are relying on civilians to kind of, you know, find them and get them out. Are you positive today that all Russians have been found there? And well, how are you conducting those searches? How thoroughly are you going from door to door?
For the third day running, our military, our special forces have been cleansing that Irpin. There is that small territory, say Stoenka 2 village. There are still some troops, but there is a small number of those, like 10 people or 20 people and several armored vehicles, and now they will withdraw on their own. But in the city of Irpin itself, we have checked pretty much everything, and if somebody has been hiding in some basement or somewhere, you know, you cannot guarantee against that. That's possible, but I'm sure that it's better for them to surrender. Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions? No more questions. Thank you very much, Oleksandr. The last thing I'd like to tell our residents, to tell all Ukrainians, now we have this war, now we have this hard time, and we have to consolidate our efforts, because we have been fighting for our land, we have been fighting for our country, we have been fighting for our families, for our president. We are a strong team like never before. We are all together. We are a strong nation like never before, and nobody will be able to defeat us. Now we are fighting against the second strongest army in the world, and we can win, and we will. Glory to Ukraine, glory to heroes. Thank you, Oleksandr. Thank you, everybody. And I'd like to remind you that now we have been developing our schedule for tomorrow. Please monitor our announcements. And Monika Atamanova, thank you.